Hi, sweetie. Nobody gonna hurt you.
Hi, this is Councilmember Malnar from the Saguaro District, and today we are talking about feral cats. Have you ever seen a stray cat and wondered what you could do or should do about it? Today we will show you how our community members at Glendale University and my fellow city council members are teaming up to find great solutions to help not only the neighborhoods but also the cats to have a better life. I have received calls and I've received some complaints throughout the years I've been on city council that people are concerned about cats, stray cats that we call feral cats, running around in their neighborhoods. State laws prevent any kind of harm to come to feral cats. And so the best thing for us to do is to try to maintain and control the feral cat populations. Now here's what happens when a feral cat population isn't controlled. You have cats running all over the place. You have unspayed, unneutered cats who are breeding and who are then creating litters all over people's neighborhoods. And then you also have cat fights, you have the prowling, you have all those things happening. So how do you resolve that? Well, that's where I got interested in, well, we need to fix this problem. And so what I decided to do is, one, learn more about it. And so I engaged some of the local community pro-feral cat folks, I could say, and brought them in, and we had a meeting and discussed, what can we do as a community? And one of the things that we had decided is that, one, we need to provide information. Secondly, there's always going to need some funds to help pay for some of these services. So several council members and I have gotten together and we've decided to use some of our district funds to help pay for the spade and neutering program, the capture and release program within our own districts. And we're using the Animal Defense League of Arizona to help coordinate this, and we're making donations to their nonprofit organization. Now I'd like to introduce Stephanie Nichols Young, who is the president of the Animal Defense League of Arizona. Stephanie, welcome to this show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
The first question is, what is a feral cat?
A feral cat is a cat that either is the offspring typically of a former pet cat that went outside and had a litter, and the litter was never tame or acclimated to people. But we find that there's some pet cats that escaped and decided they wanted to be outside, or maybe they didn't love using a litter box, or all kinds of things. So there's some tame cats out there on the streets too. There's some indoor-outdoor cats that might go outside and go on a walkabout. So any cat that's on the street that is intact and can breed are the cats we want to trap and fix.
Why do we have laws that protect feral cats? What's the benefit to a community?
Well, we have laws to protect them because they're a domestic animal, and so they're protected under the anti-cruelty law like any other domestic animal would be. But they do provide a service to the community. I mean, the obvious one is they protect against rodents or other pests that people might have in their yard, and that's a way that it's not going to involve pesticides or poisons that might cause other problems with wildlife or whatever. But the other thing that they do, and this may seem funny, but especially sometimes for senior citizens, if they have cats to take care of in their yard, it can really give them a reason to get up every morning and brings a lot of joy into their life.
Right, well, that's excellent. So why don't we now turn to having you describe what the Animal Defense League of Arizona is, what you do, how your programs work. Kind of give us an overview of your program.
Okay, we're a statewide animal protection organization. Our largest program is called the Spay-Neuter Hotline. And we started that because we were concerned about pet overpopulation in Maricopa County and statewide. But soon after we started it, we realized that the cat problem and the dog problem are very different. And where cats are breeding mostly is on the street. It's not so much cat breeders, cat fanciers, they don't contribute to the cat overpopulation problem. It's really cats on the street. So that TrapNeuterReturn work that we do is where most of our effort goes. We call it TrapNeuterReturn because the cats are trapped and then they are taken to a vet clinic, they are sterilized, and then returned back to where they were trapped.
Why don't you then kind of go through the process of maintaining a feral cat population?
So typically when it starts, you've got cats there. Sometimes it's one cat shows up, and in an ideal world, that cat is fixed and that's the end of the story. Sometimes though, that cat meets another cat and you might end up with a litter of kittens, or unfortunately a few litter of kittens sometimes. And then we want to feed all those cats on a schedule so we know how many cats there are, what they look like, so we know we're getting 4 black cats, 3 tabbies, and 2 calicos, whatever, so you know when you're done initially. And the benefit of doing that is that if you're feeding them, you can maintain the colony and be sure no new cats showed up that you didn't know about, and you can get them fixed right away. And so a well-managed colony will, the caregiver will say, we haven't had any litters at this colony for 5 years, for 10 years, whatever. And the number of cats will stabilize and obviously start to decline over time. The other benefit, besides keeping kittens from being born, is the behavior of the cats will change dramatically. The behaviors that are really hard on neighbors, I think, is the yowling, the fighting, the spraying.
Right,
I mean,
absolutely.
who hasn't heard someone complain about a cat yowling in the middle of the night, keeping them up? Once they're trapped, neuter, and return, and the cats are sterilized, I mean, all of that behavior really relates to the mating process and to breeding. So once you have them fixed, you won't have the yowling, you won't have the fighting, you won't have the spraying.
What happens to that population? It seems like after a few years it would be gone.
Well, it will decrease, and sometimes it will be gone and there won't be cats there. But if the population decreases so much, it's still good cat habitat. I mean, there's a reason why those cats were there in the first place.
Somebody else will come.
Sometimes a new cat will move in because there is something there. It may be shade, it may be water, it may be nice plants, who knows, you know, but there's something there that attracts the cats. So there probably will always be a few, but this is trying to make them a low enough population and low-key enough cats, not causing problems, so that people can coexist with them.
Okay.
Without it being a problem.
All right, so seeing a cat in your neighborhood is not necessarily a problem. From what you've described, that it may be part of a community. But what if I'm seeing lots of cats and it looks like they are causing problems? What do I do as a resident?
So you can contact the Animal Defense League of Arizona, and you can either call us at 602-265-7729, or on our website we have a form that people can fill out and request assistance. And our website is just ADLAZ.org. And they can request assistance, and then we'll teach them the process. And what we're going to ask them to do first is, if they're not doing it, feed the cats on the schedule. And we ask that. We don't recommend that people put food out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because then you might be feeding wildlife and you don't know it. You are feeding cats you don't know about. You might be overfeeding the cats. Whereas if you put enough food out for the group you're feeding, at 1 time a day or 2 times a day, whatever you prefer, and leave it out for probably no more than an hour, then you really can keep track of who you're feeding, and that is a good start. So that's what we want them to do first, get that census of their colony, and then once they have that, they'll be ready to trap. And we will book an appointment. If they're able, a lot of people trap their own cats, we'll lend them the traps, we'll coach them, and then they can trap the cats, take them to the clinic where they have the appointment. They'll probably keep them overnight the night after they trap them before they go to the clinic, and then keep them in the trap one night just to make sure the anesthesia is out of the system for the cats, and then release them where they trapped them the following day.
Okay. Do you offer training to people? Let's say that there's a neighborhood that doesn't have a person that is kind of monitoring the population, and there's somebody that wants to step up and help with that situation. Do you provide any kind of training for that?
We do, and part of it is one-on-one. When they call and talk to one of our schedulers, they'll walk them through the process and explain it. And also when they pick up their traps that we lend them for the appointment, the person will not only demonstrate how the traps work, but they will give them some coaching.
You mentioned that you have a lot of volunteers in the organization. Many of those are simply residents of Glendale who have called in, have been involved, and gotten involved in the process. So let's go out with some of these volunteers and see what they do.
What's going to happen is they enter this way, and then they step on a pressure plate here because we're going to put the food over here, and this door, which is up, will swing down. A neighbor of mine living next door was feeding a cat, and she had mentioned that she was leaving, so a few days after she left, I was thinking about her situation feeding the cat, so I just thought maybe the cat was hungry, and I put a bowl out front, and soon enough, a cat came by. And then that cat had a litter, so I started feeding the kittens. After a while, I said, well, if the cat had 4 kittens, then the 4 will probably be 16, 32, and on and on. So I wanted to do something about that. Bingo. First thing we want to do is give her a cover so that she's not too excited. This will calm her right down. Hi, sweetie. Nobody gonna hurt you. No, nobody can hurt you. And then it's best if they're put in a nice secure location. Being as hot as it is, I bring them right inside, put them on the tile floor.
How can Glendale residents support this effort?
Well, there's a few ways they can support. If they're interested in volunteering, if they'd like to participate, they can contact us on our website as well. They can donate. We may need people to help with outreach. There's all kinds of ways that people can help.
Now, you mentioned donate. Services aren't free. So how are all the expenses covered for spade, neuter release, as well as paying for the traps and doing all those things?
Well, for a real patchwork of funding, we're a grassroots organization, but our biggest expense is vet bills. I mean, you hit that. And we're lucky our vets give us very reasonable prices, but we still pay for the surgeries. We've got some support. Midwestern University does help us, and they provide some services for free, which is amazing, and can do some medical care in addition to the spays and neuters. But a lot of times we're paying for the surgery, so that is an issue. Like any business, we've got phones, we've got computers and software and staff to pay, even though about half of our work is done by volunteers, so we have a big volunteer base. But our schedulers are paid staff because it's a hard job, and they need to have a lot of expertise. But we ask people who can afford it to make a donation per cat, and so we will ask for that. People who can't afford it, we do have financial assistance available, and Glendale is a very special city, and I'm going to embarrass you by thanking you, because we really appreciate the leadership that you've provided by finding some discretionary funds to help people in your district who need financial assistance.
And to add to, there's been several council members who have stepped up and have donated to that fund to help pay for this process so that we can keep our feral cat population under control.
I introduced this program into my district over a year or so ago. It's really a problem that's been around for 30, 40 years here in the valley, and it's a regional problem. The cats go back and forth across city boundaries, and so it's hard to take care of. But it's an important issue because it impacts the daily lives of our residents, and it's not a good lifestyle for the cats either, overbreeding, overpopulation.
Good, kind people and neighbors, they leave out water for them, they leave food out for them, and one of the most loving thing they can do is trap the feral cats and have them neutered or spayed.
I'm always interested in issues that improve the lives of the people we serve, and managing and controlling feral cats does exactly that.
They breed even more little baby cats that become feral, and this has turned into a big problem for some people who can't enjoy the quiet use of their own properties. So that's why I got involved.
We appreciate so much your support, and we appreciate the other council members' support, and it's so exciting to see a city come together to solve a problem.
Stephanie, you mentioned Midwestern University is involved in this process. What I'd like to do is show some clips of the work that they do up there with the spade, neuter, and release program.
For the TrapNeuterReturn, the citizens bring them here, we check them in, and then what we do is we actually induce anesthesia through the trap, because most of these cats aren't social, so it's not safe to take them out until they're asleep. We'll do a full physical exam, make sure that they are healthy, and that returning them outside is going to be in their best interests, and then They get prepped for surgery, so that means that we shave them. Then they're going to come in here, and we have our student doctors, and they're going to go ahead and do the surgeries under our supervision.
It's also an awesome opportunity to apply what we're learning in school, because most of the kittens we take in actually have medical conditions.
Definitely from a student standpoint, it definitely gives you that good experience that you may not get just from lecture. So it definitely helps you and prepares you for real world experience. When we spay and neuter these cats, it helps prevent overpopulation, so they help prevent any kind of starvation and help with disease.
A really important part of what we do, even though it's not a very big procedure, is we take off just a little bit of the tip of the left ear. So we make a straight cut right across the little bit of the top of the ear, and so if you see a cat and they have that little tip missing, then you know that this is a cat that has been through a TrapNeuterReturn program. It means that they've been sterilized, so if they're a male or a female, they shouldn't be reproducing, and that hopefully that in many cases also means that they've been vaccinated. We're supporting a humane community. We're giving people options to help them take care of animals that they care about. And even if you don't care about cats, if you are annoyed by cats, this will make them less annoying. So it's a win for people who love cats, maybe people who don't care for them. And again, our students are getting fantastic experience that are going to make them better doctors.
Let's talk a little bit about how the issue can really get out of hand. For example, once a kitten is born, how soon does it become an adult to be able to then have its own litter, and how many typically cats are in a litter? You know, how this could really get out of hand very quickly if we don't have this kind of program in place. Can you talk about that?
That is such a good question, because cats are incredibly efficient breeders. Kittens can go into heat at 4 months, and the gestation period is about 2 months. So a kitten can be having kittens at 6 months, and that really sneaks up on people. So I'm so glad you asked that question, because I think sometimes people put off spaying and neutering a kitten, and as soon as I see a kitten, it's like house on fire, rush, 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 get that kitten to the vet right away, because it just goes so fast.
So if you have a small population of, say, 7 adult males and 7 adult females, and they're interbreeding, and every 3 or 4 months you could have a new litter of cats, it sounds like.
Exactly, and in Arizona, in some places because of the climate, the cats may only breed twice a year, but the female cats will go into heat immediately after, even sometimes while they're still nursing. So they can have 3 or 4 litters a year, and they can have as many as 6 to 8 kittens in a litter.
Wow, this really, I think, focuses in as to how beneficial your program is for the communities. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming in the studio today and explaining to us about your program at the Animal Defense League of Arizona. I really appreciate your time and effort in taking care of this situation within our community and communities throughout the entire county and even the state. I would just like to remind the audience that if you want to get involved, if you want to make a donation, here's Stephanie's phone number and the web location where you can go find out more about this program. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.